Started out in '66, not knowing anything, but in '67 we went to Auburn for the first time. My husband never went to Auburn. We went to Auburn and we met everybody, and they had the judging, and I went down into the ballpark that used to be the ballpark, and I was directing traffic down there. And the mayor, no, not the mayor, the governor of Indiana, and I forget who it was at that time, he says, I said, do you have your membership card? He says, well, I'm the governor. I said, governor of what? Because at that time I was from Pennsylvania, so I didn't know what he was talking about. And he says, I'm the governor of Indiana. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the state of Indiana. So I said, okay, sir, you can go in. But I was on that gate from about 1969 until, I think up until '93, I was on that gate, stopping well, I can't say undesirables, but it's strictly because they're judging the cars, and they don't like it to be open to strictly for the public to come down while they're trying to judge the cars. Because they can go up into the square and they can see the cars, and that's what it was. So I was on the gate, and I even made signs that says club members only, and they must show their their ACD card that they have, their membership card, and that's what I done.
And I have taken up where you left off.
Okay.
At the gate ever since. In fact, Glenn Prey threatened to run me over. He sat at the museum the whole days before the Saturday, and he never registered. So he comes to the park, and he pulled over, and he wanted to go in the park. And I said to him, but you're not registered. And he said, and I don't want to get registered. Don't you know who I am? And I said, no, sir. You're like everybody else to me. And he said, well, I'll run you over if you don't let me in that park. Matt was sitting down at the membership table. I said, you see that man down there? You run me over, he's going to own this car you're sitting in. So then he parked it, got out, and went and registered. And he's looked at me funny ever since. But Kathleen started the ball rolling. Okay, how many ACD cars have you and Perry owned?
Perry has owned a Cord Phaeton since 1951, and he restored that. He got it from Dover, Delaware, and he restored it, and that was when I met him, when he was restoring that. And we drove that car out to Auburn, Indiana from 1969 up until 1986 when he sold it, when I was vacationing in Florida.
And tell him about your car.
And he would never let me drive that Cord. And he got another Cord. So when he got the other Cord, he was like in his 60s. And I asked him what he bought the other Cord for. And he says, because he's into it. Well, in 1993, I sent the word out that I wanted an Auburn. I wanted an Auburn because Nettie Van Alsdale, at that time, she had, I think it was a 35, and her husband had found that for her, or she found it, I don't know the story on it, and I said, I would like to have that car. So I sent the word out that I wanted a 35, 36 Auburn, and Mike Pingatori from Washington State came to me and said, Kathy, you looking for an Auburn? I said, yeah. He says, well, John Forsythe has one for sale. And I says, okay. So when John came into town, I said, John, you have an Auburn for sale? He said, yeah. Where are you going when you leave here? I said, I'm going to Michigan, and I'll come down after that, and to Fremont, Ohio. And he says, okay, just give me a call. I gave him a call, told him I was coming down, and when I went down to talk to him, I was talking to him for about 20 minutes, and I said, John, where's the car? I want to see the car. I want to go. I want to see the car, if I'm going to buy it or I'm not going to buy it. So he said, well, there it is. I looked and I said, holy cows. I said, well, you expect me to drive that big baby? And he says, well, that's what my wife said. And he said he bought it for his wife, but she don't want it. It's too big. And I said, well, he said, here's the keys. I said, you're going to trust me with the keys? And he says, well, yeah, why not? You're going to buy it. So I got in the car, it wouldn't start. Then he did a little trick to it, and it started. And it had regular gas in it. Not unleaded, regular, because that's what they had in Ohio. So I said, John, how am I going to get to Virginia? He said, drive it. I said, no, because you just told me it sat for 5 years. So I don't know if I want to drive it. So he says, well, Jay and I will bring it to Hershey. And then it's up to you to get it home. I said, okay. So I got it home. Now I'll make a long story short. I got the car home, and then I went to drive it, and every time I drove it, I broke down. And breaking down in Virginia is like breaking down in a cornfield and nobody's around. And nobody knows anything about, what kind of car is that, a DUESENBERG? I'm sorry, it's an AUBURN. Well, we don't know anything about those cars, so nobody could help me. And I broke down all the time, and I decided to go, I got it fixed. Excuse me, I got it fixed. But I figured, well, I'm going to go on the Hoosier Tour. So I started out to take it to the Hoosier Tour. I got 75 miles from home, and I broke down. So the guy said, well, you have fuel problems. There's dirt in the tank. I said, well, we were having a meet up in Bedford, Pennsylvania. And I said, well, okay, can you take it home? Take it to my house. We're 75 miles away. He said, yeah. He took it down there, and I took the Volkswagen up to Bedford. They said, Kathy, where's your car? I said, it got sick. So I got that fixed anyhow. So the following year, something else happened, but I did drive it up to, in '99, I did drive it all the way to Auburn from Virginia, which was 950 miles. By myself, I must say.
Wow.
And then, without the club members, without Mike Huffman and other people, which there is a lot of club members that helped me out because they knew that I drove it all the way from Virginia. And I drove it to Auburn, got there, but then I had trouble. And I've been on the Hoosier Tour ever since '99, driving it, and in '99, it got hit out at Cruises. And they wiped out the whole left side. And I left it there for a year. I found somebody that could actually work on it. And they worked on it, and they got the upholstery done in it, because I didn't like the green upholstery that was in it. And I had the diamond cut, because that was the era, 20 and the 30s was the diamond cut. So I had the diamond cut put in there, the upholstery was done. I left it up to my niece and my nephew to bring it to the Eastern Spring meet. But something happened to it that they couldn't bring it, and it was still out at Auburn. That I went out in Auburn and got it. But the moral of the story is, without belonging to a club, and without belonging to the ACD club, and the members that are in it, like Mike Hoffman, to name a few, Jerry Mazzola, to name him, and Bert Dickman, that car would not be on the road today.
Well, you set a very high standard.